It's warm. This morning there was that big yellow light in the sky. Awesome. But now it's clouded over. But it's a great day for working on the allotment because we don't want it too hot. You know how it is. Well, today I've got a couple of things to harvest, which is quite exciting because we do all that work during the course of the year, and this is what it all culminates in, getting some great things to take home that you can eat. So today we're going to look at some raspberries to kick off with. Let me show you what's happened to all the raspberries that I've been growing in the new bed. So I'm really surprised by how many raspberries I've got on these relatively small plants that I transplanted this year. And you can see, well, there's a goodly amount. And what I'm finding is that as soon as I crop them, I'm getting a new load, and we've had 2 very small pickings off of this group of raspberries. And you can see where I've taken a few there, but every day it's looking good. So what I'm going to try and do is fill a punnet, and that'll be a good measure, and see how many we can get off of this small group of transplanted raspberries. Right, where did I put that punnet? Ah, it's fallen down. So I'm wondering whether I can fill that fella. Let's see. Beautiful. So just about a level punnet really, just from those few transplanted raspberry canes. Now what I'm going to do is, by comparison, just pick from these far more established canes that are interspersed into this, well, rather untended bed. Just see what a comparison I get. These of course have never moved, whereas all these were taken out of the ground, potted, the work done here and transplanted back. So let's have a go at all of these and see what I get out of those. Well, there you go. It's not an exact science. There's probably not the same amount of bushes, but in general, if you've got an established set of raspberry bushes, then they are that much more, well, productive, I guess about 100% more productive. So hopefully these will come to that in time. I tell you what, you do just keep seeing them. Every different angle that you come from, you see a load more. And if you're in any doubt about whether raspberries are productive as a food growing bush, then I'd say absolutely they are. And this is probably our second picking. We've probably had about that much so far, and there'll be that much again over the coming weeks, if not a lot more. So yeah, thumbs up, good times. I had lots of good advice about netting these cherries, but actually I'm just going to pick one, take it home, and in fact I'm going to pick those 3 and take them home, see if I can ripen them, see what they taste like. And there's only really 2 or 3 left on there, so definitely good advice to net your cherries once they start to turn colour, because the birds will have them. There's another couple there. In fact, I'm going to take that one. No, I'm not. But I think with my small crop, I'll probably take the advice next year. Right, on to the next harvesting. And I think there might be a couple of more harvests after today. I think I'm going to have a go at these gooseberries this morning, because I've sort of been neglecting them. And 1 or 2 of them have gone a really deep, dark maroon colour. That looks delicious. I think I'm going to try that one. Well, I can tell you, it is so sweet. And if you think gooseberries are sharp, well, not all of them. So, do I leave those? No, I think I'm going to harvest. Right, get myself a basket. Well, Mrs. K makes a mean gooseberry fool. Not complicated, just fresh cream, some zuzzed up gooseberries folded in together. Absolutely gorgeous. So I've just picked myself a few of the riper ones and we'll have gooseberry fool later on. Delicious. All of a sudden the berries are coming on. Won't be more than a few days before we start to pick red currants, I think. And there's quite a few black currants on that one. And this glorious white currant, which is just a lovely different shade, but exactly the same as the red currant really. Tastes the same to me. Oh, drop one, just gonna taste one. Sweet, gorgeous. Okay, on to the next main harvest for this morning. Well, white rot has featured heavily this year in my garden, and I know that it's featured heavily across the country because so many people have said that they've struggled with white rot this year. So today is my harvesting of all my garlic. I've decided it's all coming out, and therefore it'll be very interesting as I go around to the various locations that I've got it to see how it's done. And this is a bed or a bucket full of compost that's been a real mix of things reused, so it's highly probable that it would have white rot, because if you're not using absolutely virgin compost, the risk is around. So let's get these out. They're just starting to turn. You can see we're getting rust on here and the leaves are dying back. And this variety, I got those twisty scapes on top, which everyone advised me to cut off and cook with, which I did, and they were fantastic. Let's have a look at these. Well, this one seems absolutely fine, and the soil's a bit dusty, which I don't know whether that helps or not, but just look at that beauty. That is perfect. So I hope the rest are like that. And the thing with white rot is that you can get absolutely perfect garlic mixed amongst garlic that are not so good. And I found the best way of dealing with sort of slightly infected garlics is to take it home and basically work with it, get the bits off that are not very nice, and chop the rest up really quickly and sort of mince it and freeze it in ice cubes. And you're sort of putting it into a state of, well, permanent freezing, and therefore it doesn't deteriorate anymore, and the white rot is no longer a problem, and you can use that in your cooking without any problem at all, I found. And of course that sort of halts the whole rotting process that actually happens with white rot. So these are coming out beautifully, and I can't remember what the variety is because, well, I sort of rely upon my videos to go back and look what I put where, but this is a cracking sized garlic. So 2 more to come out and I'll show you a finished bunch, and there doesn't seem to be any signs of white rot in here at all, which is rather reassuring. Oh wow, that has got to be the biggest one out of the bunch. Right, here we go. Fantastic. Let's go on and see what the next pot has got in store for us. So this is the next pot, and these are leaning over considerably more. So I'm sort of thinking there might be a bit of risk in this little bunch. Right, let's get in and see. And this soil, much harder. It's not really compost in the same way. It's been dug from around the compost heaps, and I used it to fill this when I was growing some kale. Beautiful, look at that. Right, that one's going in. Let's see, these at this side are a little bit stronger and they're stood up a bit more. That one's Small but good. This one's got a really thick stem. Ah, that is a beauty. Look at that. So far you'd say garlic in pots is a really good thing. I think it probably is. Although I know down in my other group I do have some white rot. So we'll wait and see what that looks like. 2 more to go. This has also required next to no weeding. It's been really good. Another beauty there. And these tend to be all the Isle of Wight varieties which I bought this year. In fact, I don't think there's any that are not, because I know that I sort of lost track of what the varieties I was growing was, so I decided to grow all new this year. And that's another beauty. So out of that, 2, 4, 6 good sized garlic. Right, onward. Right, knee pad in this area because it's a bit wet. Let's have a look in these pots. Now I know that this one down here has got white rot in it, and they're sort of leaning over, and there's 1 or 2 leaning over in that one, but these seems a lot better. So I'm going to tackle these first, these ones that look a bit more upright, and I'll do those other ones at the end, because one thing you've got to be really careful with white rot is that it's easy to spread it around, and therefore if you're using gloves and tools, it was advice I was given quite a long way back in my YouTube videos, and I've heeded it carefully, and that is not to pass the spores around by mixing tools and things. So far no white rot, so I'm going to carry on using these, and I'll deal with all these healthier looking ones and see what we've got. Wow, it's tough to get it out, that's for sure. I don't want to put a fork through it, which I have been known to do. Oh, right, so these are a lot smaller, and I've noticed that. I mean, it could be the variety, but they are smaller. But that one's got no white rot. Let's just take a couple more from this pot. Same again, very small, nice upright plant, and they're starting to go over, so it's feeling like the right time to me. You could leave them longer. I don't think they're going to grow a lot bigger. Let's just get the last few out of this pot, and then I'll put all the rest on time lapse, and I'll show you what I've got at the end. Yeah, they're all very small garlics, these. So very interesting. I'll go back and check what variety this was. I don't mind a small garlic. You can still eat it, still works. But out of that pot, just those. So I'll carry on around the others and see. Okay, so we've got a pretty significant size haul of small garlic, which are absolutely fine. And then we've got 5 or 6, maybe 7 that have got white rot, and they came from these 3 barrels of compost. So all in all, not bad, although size is a bit disappointing on those. So I think that's all my garlic, and I'd have to say fairly pleased with those big barrels. They got some substantial size. I need to look back and see what variety that is, because clearly that's a key part of it. But also a few garlic in a fairly big container feels like the right thing to do. And of course my, well, experimental bed that is in a video that I did, well, 3 or 4 episodes ago, I was delighted with adding those chopped tops to the soil and allowing it to bloom so that hopefully the white rot is removed in the main. Seems like a good way forward to me when you've got white rot in your plot. Well, I hope you solve your problems. I know a lot of you have got issues with white rot, so good luck. Well, all my spares are still sat on my bench, as you can see, but I've got use for a couple of these in a moment, and I'll show you what I'm doing. But first of all, let me show you this. This small dwarf lily went into this pond last year, and this is its 2nd year. It's got more leaves, but most importantly, it's got an emerging flower. which is absolutely fantastic. Looks like it's going to be white at the moment, and it'll look beautiful when it comes out. I'll keep you updated with how it looks. Well, it's about my sprouts really, and what's interesting is 3 of these plants have really got cracking and they're getting away, and I'm very hopeful about getting sprouts in this area. But the ones that were attacked early by slugs are really suffering. So I'm not going to give up on them completely, but I'm sort of working on the basis that they're not going to flourish, and therefore I'm going to plant next to them. Look at this bindweed just trying to take over. Keep on top of it, and hopefully I can prevent it becoming a huge problem. But it's growing in from outside, and even though I put that clay pan outside, it still seems to creep over from further afield and get into the plot. Right, let's see. I'm going to put in these celeriacs. Now, I potted these on. Someone asked me how I got nice big celeriac plants, and it's all about potting them on early and making sure they're nice and well established before we put them in. But I'm thinking that these leaves, which it's of course a celery family, might not be so tasty to slugs and therefore might do better here. That's my plan. So I'm going to set these out next to these plants and just see if I can get some success with them in this area. Right, I'll go and get my trowel and we'll put these 4 spares that I've got in and see how they do. I've been priding myself on how strong my broad beans have been looking and how I've not needed to prop them up in any way with support. But this morning, I'd say that there's definitely a case that they're starting to lean over a bit. And then when I went down and did those celeriac with the sprouts, this side looks okay, but this side definitely leaning over. So that's a job I've got to do over the next few days. It's a bit windy today, which isn't good for them, but I think I'm going to leave that until I got a nice still day. One thing I did notice was that the flower on this particular broad bean is, well, a purple, and I was convinced this was aquadulce, and this flower is definitely white. So all along I've been thinking these are the same variety. You know how poor I am at labelling, but I don't think they are, so that'll be interesting when the pods form and I can draw some comparisons. This one is super easy to prop up. You'll see these stakes that I put in, these plastic stakes, and I wrap string or cord all around them. And now at this stage, all I have to do is lift that cord up the stakes and they'll be supported. So I am going to do that one right now. Well, I know that I put that on time lapse and it looks super quick, but it really was very quick. And it's a great method. I don't think I invented it. I just stuck these in and wrapped the cord around, and that's what I'm doing. I'm sure lots of people do the same, but if you're looking for a quick and easy way to keep your broad beans, you know, hemmed in, then this allows them to grow, form, get a fairly sturdy stem with a bit of breeze, and then when they get a bit too big, just move those strings up. Fantastic. Bit of rain setting in now, so get a few jobs done and then off home for a cup of coffee. Let me show you my run of beans. So I've got flowers on them, which is fantastic. These white flowers are Czar, my favorite bean. I notice I got my normal rogue red beans in there, which just happens because I've sown them before and I've kept some beans, and the whole thing just perpetuates, but no problem to have a different variety. This one seems to have a real problem. I keep sort of trying to get him to grow up things, but he won't grow up. You know how it is. Anyway, they're doing quite well. I think it'll soon be time to tie a few in, and then that'll make sure that every one of them gets up well. There's a long way to go yet. My path's full of these annual weeds, which I shall just remove with a hoe at some point. And these little white ones, they seem to be very prolific. And of course the Roseberry willow herb. But better to hoe than pick those, because it's a really easy process, and I sure need to mow sometime this coming week. Right, now to show you a bit of a problem I've had. There's been a catastrophe at the polytunnel. So I open and close the polytunnel every day, and obviously I visit the plot during the week many times, and it's all doing very well, which is good. And well, you know, I get a bit of a problem with cats, and I'm always a bit careful that cats don't come in here, but they are attracted by the soft soil. When the bed gets really developed like this, then it's not such of a problem. They don't seem to get in because there's just not enough space for them. And of course, growing in pots doesn't really suit them for the purpose that they want to use soil for. My carrots are always a bit susceptible because that's a bed of warm, soft soil. Get that weed out when I see it. So I never see cats in here unless it's really warm, and if I do, then I shufty them out. And I also use this netting, which is just scaffold netting, to drop down over the door when it's open all day. So I take a few precautions. But when I came to the allotment the other morning, I was a bit distressed to see that I clearly trapped a cat inside the polytunnel when I closed it. And I figure the cat might have been in and perhaps behind my carrot bed, or maybe tucked in somewhere where I couldn't see it. And it obviously stayed still whilst I watered or did what I needed to do, and then locked up. And the result was he scratched his way out of the polytunnel. Let me show you. So it's clearly a cat, because it's got all these nail marks and had 2 serious attempts, and then I guess finally found its way out of that hole. And I thank my lucky stars that it's only this front panel from this door, because that's really not an issue. I did check around the rest of the tunnel, and thankfully there was no damage anywhere else. So I'm now left to deal with this, and I could just put a panel of plastic in, but I haven't got a sheet this big. So I'm just going to use the polytunnel repair tape, which is fantastic stuff. I'll show you what I'm going to do. Well, polytunnel plastic is amazing stuff. It doesn't really rip, it just sort of punctures. So you can use tape just to make sure that you've got a seal, and this tape comes in various thicknesses. And I'm just going to do a patch job, and it will last as long, if not longer, than the polytunnel will last anyway. So it's very difficult to cut. That's the only difficulty. Getting a nice clean cut is really difficult. But given that I've not got a very clean hole here, I'm going to not worry about that too much. Right, that's one piece in. And I find that doing it both sides, bit belt and braces, really helps, because that way you get an even stronger seal. Ironically, if the cat does get in here again, it'll probably just find another area to break out, because it won't get through this stuff. Right, that's fully over the hole. I'm just going to put one more piece onto the edge just to give it strength, because it will just pull away if I'm not careful. Right, one more in there. And then I'll do the same over these holes and the same on the back. And that should keep it, well, under control for the rest of this plastic's life. Just going to stick all the difficult edges to the inside. Right, I'll get on and fix the rest of that. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video today. It's been a, well, fruitful morning with plenty of harvest, which is really nice. And if you've enjoyed the video, why not like and subscribe? And if you want my updates every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Good times.